Most people focus on methods, whereas what we should be looking at is principles. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 11 principles that I've learned over 20 years of working with elite performers in business and in sports. These 11 principles will help you become a better performer as a dad and as a person in business. Number 1, principles over methods. Over the vast 20 years I've been working in sports science, human performance, leadership coaching, methods always change. Whether that is looking at breathing techniques, ice baths, different types of training, different leadership models, those methods are always being developed. However, you have to have consistent principles in your approach. And this goes across every aspect of your life, whether that is being a leader in your company or whether that is being a dad at home. Create these principles and live by them day to day, and what happens is that you compound the way that you go about things. So think more about not what's the latest tool, what's the latest method, technique, piece of technology. Think about your principles. A great saying is, without health, there's no such thing as wealth. I.e., basically, you can be the richest person in the world, but if you haven't got your health, it's pointless. Health is a key aspect to your performance as a dad, as a business owner, as a leader in life. What you have to understand is that everybody will exercise in a different way. You need to find the way that fits you. What I mean by that is you can walk into a gym and you can see people doing squats, bench press, you watch CrossFit, High Rocks, whatever it looks like, and you try to copy what they do. Unfortunately, we are not all David Goggins. Does that mean that we can't take things from his training? No, of course not. What you need to do is you need to find out what works for you and then apply it. Somebody who knows what works for them and is consistent over the course of a week, month, year will get way better results than somebody who's trying to copy this person. That is something that you need to understand. So find out what works for you from an exercise point of view. Point number 3, self-reflection is key to performance. In professional sports, pretty much after every game, we would have self-reflection. So we'd play on a Saturday, obviously the game would be recorded. Come Monday morning, all the players' individual clips would be shown to them, all their units, their teams within the teams, and ultimately then there would be a team review. During that time, players would be able to self-reflect on what happened on the Saturday and therefore create a plan going forward of how to improve. Unfortunately, in life, sometimes we don't have this opportunity. We're going from one meeting to the next, or we're going from one sports that we drop our kids off to the next, and there's a real kind of fragmented approach to how we do things. You have to carve out time to reflect on you as an individual, self, ego, performance, all those areas to help you move forward as a dad and as a leader in your business. Number 4, self-awareness is a super skill. It's not a soft skill. It's not a nice to have. It's something that you need all the time. I admit that during my career, especially when I was in professional sports, I lacked that self-awareness. I lacked how I approached gym sessions, how I approached relationships, how I approached my communication skills. Since then, I've spent large amounts of time developing this self-awareness. I'm still not there. I'm still not perfect. Still, people might perceive me in some particular way, but I'm still working on trying to develop that self-awareness because I know that it's a super skill. Being able to have that self-awareness enables you to interact with not only the people around you, but with yourself. So there's so many books out there. David Goleman is the main man, I would say. His work in emotional intelligence is fantastic. I'll link some of his books in the description. They are meaty, chunky books, but if you can get your head around them, there are some amazing nuggets that you can use on a day-to-day basis to help you have that self-awareness. If you are a professional athlete, recovery will be planned into your week. When we work with athletes, we use periodization models. So a fancy term for basically planning. Meaning that if you were my athlete, we'd look at your week ahead and we would spot moments of days that would be slightly easier, opportunities for recovery sessions, whatever that might kind of look like for you as an athlete in terms of where you are in season, out of season, Olympic cycle, etc. Unfortunately, life, especially when we've got children, when we've got a business, doesn't really work like that, because we might have a demanding client or our child might be sick and we don't have opportunities to say, right, actually I'm going to go do my recovery, I'm going to get my 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. That doesn't happen. However, if you have opportunities to take recovery, take them. The best performers in the world are not the ones that are hustling and grinding all the time. Probably goes back to my point around exercise. We look at people who are successful entrepreneurs or successful leaders and we think, wow, look, they just grind. Yeah, they do, but they're not you. They don't have the situation that you're in. They don't have the interactions, or they don't have the relationships that you do with your children or the business that you're in. We cannot take someone else's method and apply it to us and have great success. So the key there is to think about how you're going to go about ensuring that you get some form of recovery during the day and at night. Number 6, your inner world reflects your outer world. Now, this is an ongoing one for me in terms of my practice of understanding what's going on internally. But how we value ourselves internally, so how we speak to ourselves or how we listen to the inner critic or the chatter in our head, is a reflection of what's going on outside. Okay, so if we don't value ourselves, then when we're having those conversations with clients, with people, when we're kind of interacting with our kids, that is going to be the same representation as what's going on internally. In the world that we live in today, external success is easy for people to see. Cars, houses, money, everything looks great on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. But really what we're looking for is if we have inner success, okay, if we are kind of happy with the person inside, then that external success does not really matter. I have worked with senior leaders in big global companies that are earning unbelievable amounts of money, but they're not really that happy. They don't feel that successful. They're not kind of contented in themselves. So once you understand that, it becomes a lot easier then to create time to work on this inner world and not worry so much around the external things that are going on. Over the years, I've worked with some amazing performers, and the 3 things that they have in abundance is they understand their vision. Okay, they have a clear picture of where they're trying to get to. They know their values, the actions that they're willing to take to get them to where they want to be. And lastly, they have a purpose. They understand the reason why they are doing all these things to achieve or create that vision. Once somebody gets super clear on those 3 elements and is so clear that they could basically reel them off in an elevator pitch being 30 to 60 seconds in each area, those individuals have a huge amount of internal drive, intrinsic motivation, so self-motivation to move themselves forward. People who struggle with procrastination, lacking focus, are not clear on what they are trying to achieve, what steps they're willing to take to get there, and ultimately, why are they trying to do it? Point number 8, I've been able to go in and see lots of different types of environments in professional sports, global businesses, small businesses, vast different types of environments. And this type of environment, or your environment, it matters, okay? If you hang around with people who are clear on their visions, values and purpose, and they're aligned with yours, life becomes a lot easier. It's a simple thing. If you are, trying to stop smoking, for example, and all your friends smoke, it becomes really difficult if you're hanging around with them. If you're trying to lose weight, but actually if you look at your fridge or in your cupboards and there's loads of unhealthy foods or highly processed foods, you're going to struggle. If you can find an exercise where there's a group of people who are saying to you, love what you're doing, keep doing it, come join us, great things are going to happen. And we have way more influence over those environments than what we believe. Sometimes it can be quite easy for us to think, this is the way it is, this is how my friends are, family, this is the place that I live in. If you don't see them fitting into that vision, then you need to take actions to change what's happening there. So finding groups of similar people. And then what happens is that the decisions to change or to improve are actually quite easy to make, because those people are saying, yeah, well done. They're like-minded, they're encouraging, instead of hanging around with people who are like, no, you can't do that, or that's a stupid idea, or whatever it might look like for them to put you down. Your environment matters, and it dictates where you're at and where you're going. Performance is holistic, meaning that basically your performance in your business, reflects your performance at home. Your performance at home reflects your performance at work or in the business. That comes from working in professional sports, whereby people who are struggling in training or performing on a Saturday, Sunday, whatever day of the week it was, if there were issues at home, that would affect them. I've listened to, read and watched many professional football players, rugby players, talk about the fact when they had performance dips, it was due to external things happening outside of the training ground, the pitch, etc. So why is this important? It means that basically you can't put all your eggs into one basket. You can't drive and create a business without making sacrifices in time and energy from your home life. That's okay, as long as there are moments when you come back in to being at home and you are fully engaged in being at home. Business dads I work with really struggle with this element, because they think that they have to be always thinking about business, always thinking about new ideas. But our children are like these kind of very sensitive radars that pick up on that. So when I work with my business dads, we have a huge element to really focus. When you are at home, you're at home. You are 100% engaged with them. You are doing what they do, whether that's building Lego, colouring in, playing. You are in their world. That is key. So don't just think that because one element is going well that it's going to rub off onto the other element. You need to have an understanding that they interact with each other. Wellness and performance are two sides of the same coin. Meaning that if you do not look after yourself, if you do not eat right, sleep right, breathe right, think right, move right, your performance will struggle. However, if you're not performing very well, that's not great either. They are highly linked. There is lots of research around the fact that when we are performing well, and whether that's as a dad or as a business owner or a business leader, that supports our wellness. But also when we have good wellness, that supports our performance. Meaning that we cannot sacrifice our well-being to try and improve our performance. It's a foundation to it. It's the same sides of the same coin. This is by far the biggest one that I've learned from creating a business or moving from a full-time employed coaching role in an elite environment to now developing a coaching business. Success is just showing up one more time. It's just doing one more rep. It's just making the next YouTube video or making the next piece of content or writing the next email or going to a network event one more time. Because that next time might be the time and you don't know. And that is how difficult or how easy it can be. Because if I say to you, you've just got to do one more rep, or you've just got to go to this meeting one more time, that's quite easy for you to think about, right, there we go. However, when things are not going well, and trust me, things in my business some days go really bad. Yesterday, I had 3 emails from people saying, nope, we don't want your services. And I'd spent a large amount of time developing that relationship, sending proposals, showing value in what I could deliver. But ultimately, they just turned around and said, no. So I have a choice to make now. Do I go one more time? Or do I pivot or do I change direction? Or do I stop? And I think that the people who are truly successful just keep showing up one more time. I hope that you've enjoyed those 11 things that I've learned from the best performers that I've worked with. I hope you stayed all the way to the end. If you haven't subscribed, obviously please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. If any of them really resonated with you, please drop a comment in the comment box and I'll answer it. One thing that I know that works really well with my clients is understanding where they're at. That's why I created a performance test for business dads that you can go on and you can evaluate how you're doing in all those areas I've mentioned in this video. The link's in the description. Take the test. Obviously, you'll get back your results and see what you can do from there. Anyway, keep going, keep showing up, and I'll see you next time.